My dad had me when he was in his early 20s, and my stepmom, Elle, 34, is closer in age to me, 25. Both Elle and I are pregnant at the same time. She's currently 34 weeks, while I'm 32 weeks. We're both having girls. Since I was a little kid, I wanted to name my firstborn girl Elizabeth after my gran, who raised me while Dad was in medical school. My partner likes the name Elizabeth, and we've decided that she would be called Elizabeth Catherine after both of our grandmothers. We've also decided to keep the name a surprise. However, Elle and Dad have recently announced the name of their daughter on social media using an embroidered blanket. She's to be named Elizabeth Gabrielle, but Lizzie for short. Elizabeth after Elle's best friend, Beth, who passed away last year, and Gabrielle after her mom, who passed away 4 years ago. Elle and I had talked about baby names, and she had never mentioned Elizabeth. If I'm being honest, I'm upset by it. I picked the name first. It holds a lot of meaning to me. I messaged Elle, telling her and Dad to pick something else, anything else, because I was also using Elizabeth, and it would be confusing to have two Elizabeths, especially given how close in age they'll be. Elle told me that she wasn't going to move on this, and that she wanted to honor Beth by naming her daughter after her. When I spoke to Dad, he told me they were naming her Elizabeth, whether I liked it or not. He told me that I was being selfish, thinking I could decide who could use which names, and thinking that my reasoning for using the name Elizabeth was more important than Elle's. Dad also told me that as their daughter's likely to be born first, then they'll name her Elizabeth, and I'll have to pick something else. Elle has since told me I'm being an idiot and has asked me not to contact her until I apologize. Am I the idiot for telling my stepmom she can't use the baby name I chose? By keeping my baby's name private, I mean we haven't announced it, that she'll be called Elizabeth Catherine. However, my dad knew I wanted to use Elizabeth, as we talked about it quite a bit after Gran passed. You are the idiot. Your reason for using the name isn't any more important than Elle's reason. You don't own a name, and there absolutely can be two Elizabeths, especially if you give them different nicknames. See every Irish family that has 5 Johns with various nicknames. Don't tank your relationship with your father over something as trivial as this. Agree. My first daughter is named Elizabeth, the most beautiful woman's name in the world. All my dolls were named Elizabeth. I named her after Elizabeth I, the most powerful woman who ever lived, and Elizabeth Taylor, the most beautiful woman in the world. My ex's late mother's name was Elizabeth, and she went by Betty. Her mother was also Elizabeth and went by Ruby. My daughter goes by Beth. You can't have more than one Elizabeth in the family. There will still be a nickname for each girl. Exactly. The stepmom already said they're using Lizzie for short, so I don't see what the issue is. This is how OP sounds. I know you want to honor your dead friend and all, but I called dibs on this name, Elizabeth, so you can't use it. This poor woman lost her best friend only a year ago. Stepmom is naming her kid after someone she cared about. That's not name stealing. That's an unfortunate coincidence. I was expecting a story of, we told my dad in secret, but she found out and now wants to name her kid Aracaria. But no. Common name, genuine reasons for naming. Also, I do think OP has no right to the name. The grandfather was the dad's mother. But OP's dad knew she wanted to use the name, and that's an idiot move on his part. OP, you are not the idiot. Your dad knew and is pandering to his new younger wife. They were fully aware that you were already intending to use that name. I also don't think it's fair that your dad said you should change your daughter's name. He doesn't own a name either. Use the name you planned. They can get over it. Agree. The father's an idiot for saying that. Since his daughter will be born first, OP will have to change the name. I would find it absolutely hilarious if stepmom had the baby late and OP had hers early, meaning that the dad is completely wrong in who was born first. This actually happened to my cousin and me. He was late and I was early. Oh my goodness, everyone's the idiot here. This sounds messy, and maybe, just maybe, You and your dad's wife are having a bit of a contest, and it isn't actually about the names. Just make everybody happy and go no contact with them. Your father would be too busy with his new kid to care about you and your kid anyway. He can wait another 20 years to become a grandfather to his new kid's children. I, 20 male, come from a family that was formerly minor royalty in the country we're from. We no longer have titles or power. What we do have is our palace left, which we've had for a little over 900 years. Until recently, my grandfather owned it. He has 2 kids, my dad and his sister. My mom and dad died soon after I was born, so my sister expected to inherit the place. She made no secret that her intention was to sell it. She had lined up a prospective buyer who would offer the equivalent of $10 million because our family has massive debts and saw this as a way to solve them. My grandfather died last year, and because he knew my aunt would just sell it, he gave the place to me. I have no intentions of selling because how many generations of my family have been born and died here? It's a piece of family history worth more than any price that can be given to it. My aunt pointed out that the family has massive debt that must be paid off, or else we'd continue to struggle and stress over it. I told her that while I wanted to get rid of the debt as much as possible, I wouldn't sell our home. She's saying that I'm condemning my family to further suffering in efforts to pay off our loans. But I honestly don't care. I won't sell off a piece of history, no matter what. She thinks this makes me the idiot, but I don't think so. There are some things more important than paying off debts immediately. Am I the idiot? Edit. In my country, you can inherit your parents' debt. Following the abolishment of the monarchy, successive generations of the family had to borrow lots of money to keep up their lifestyle, leading to the situation we have now. It's the equivalent of $4 million, and since I've inherited my grandfather's payment schedule, I have 10 years. As you took the debt that went with the home, the only person you could be the idiot to is yourself. You have the right to make this choice entirely independently, since the debt is yours, and not burdening the rest of the family. If your successors want to choose otherwise, they'll have that option when it's their turn to own the property. You are not the idiot. I'd honestly argue that Aunt only saw the dollar signs, and chances were that that money would have gone in short order anyway, wasted on other things. Your grandfather gave it to you, not your aunt. Her trying to convince you to sell it is exactly the reason she doesn't own the property. Don't let her get to you. Opening it up for tourism is a good idea to help pay down your debt. You could also have it as a wedding venue. There are a lot of people who would love to get married in a palace. Good luck. Info. Do you have any other $10 million palaces to inhabit? It's best to keep a backup place just for cases like these. You don't want to end up palaceless. I suggest you talk to a financial planner before deciding based on pure sentimentality. This place will no doubt cost you money to maintain or upgrade over time, and it's worth understanding your whole financial picture. Hence, you know how best to proceed. Last weekend, my 31 male, wife, 29 female, was out of town spending the weekend with old friends. On Sunday afternoon, my mother-in-law texted me that John, 21 male, my wife's brother, would be calling that night when my wife got home from her trip. She also said, "He has some upsetting news. I'm glad she'll have you for support, and I'll be home if she wants to call or FaceTime afterward." I told my mother-in-law that my wife had left later than expected and likely wouldn't be home until 11 p.m. now, and she said that she'd have John call Monday evening instead. Later, my wife called from the car to check in because she was still about 1.5 to 2 hours away and wanted a little break from her podcast. I'm not sure what in the conversation made me think of it, but I told her about the text from her mom earlier. She immediately started asking me what could be wrong, asked me to read the exact text, and was stressing out over it. She ended the call a few minutes later. When she got home, she was upset and angry at me for telling her. She didn't want to ruin my credibility with her mom and family, So although she didn't tell them she knew something was going on, she had reached out to both her mom and John to see if they wanted to talk while she was driving, and her mom never responded to her text, while her brother said he wasn't free. By the time she got home, she said she had already searched arrest records near his college, as well as local newspaper sites, and couldn't find anything about what this upsetting news could be. We had a big argument about what I did. She thinks I shouldn't have told her when I knew they'd be calling the next evening after her workday was over, and that I shouldn't have told her when she was alone in the car driving. I thought I was doing the right thing by not keeping secrets from her. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Oh, hey, your brother has some crappy news for you tomorrow, but I have no idea what it is. I guess you'll just have to sweat it out until he calls. That's what you did to your wife. You unfairly triggered anxiety and worry that was unnecessary. There are times when secrets are appropriate. Instead, you put her in a cloud of worry for an entire day. Why are we assuming that this was only stressful for OP's wife and not also for OP? If my mother-in-law called me and said that my husband would get some upsetting news but wouldn't tell me what that was, I'd be concerned and freaking out too. It's okay that mother-in-law did it to OP, but not that OP relayed this to his wife? Mother-in-law created the situation where OP had no choice. Either he tells his wife, causing anxiety, or there's a surprise phone call, and the wife is blindsided. Mother-in-law is the idiot here, and OP is not. Agree. Your mother-in-law is the idiot. What was even the point of her telling you that? What was that accomplishing? So now your choices are to freak out alone about what the heck the upsetting news is and run the risk of your wife being mad you didn't give her a heads up, or let your wife freak out with you. It's a no-win scenario for you. Info. What was the bad news? While her brother was out of immediate danger and physically fine, he had taken himself somewhere due to mental health thoughts he was having. They're very close, and another family member survived a similar issue 2 years ago, so this is a very emotional topic for them. They didn't want to ruin her trip, and then didn't want to tell her in the middle of the night when she got home. He works away 5 days a week and is home on the weekends before returning to work at 4 a.m. on a Monday morning. He works really long hours while he's away, so he's tired on the weekends. A month ago, we had a beautiful picnic with our child, just the 3 of us, and it was extra special because it was at the botanical gardens where we got married. Our child hasn't been here before, so I wanted to take my time and enjoy the gardens, walk around after lunch, and soak up the sunshine. He didn't want to walk around because he was tired, which I thought was fine, even though I was disappointed, but I took our child for a walk without him. Anyway, on the way home, he was complaining about how tired he was. When we got home, he went for a nap. I got all the housework and cleaning done like I normally do on a Sunday, but the afternoon became evening, and he was still taking his me time. So I got dinner in the oven and sorted out my birthday cake. When he joined us for dinner, my dad had arrived to eat with us. After dinner, my husband got himself some beers and sat down to watch sports with my dad. I got our child ready for bed, and I asked him to help. Our child was having a difficult time drifting off, and usually I drive around for a little bit to help Bubba find sleep. He didn't want to help take Bubba out for a drive. He couldn't anyway. He was drinking. But I got really angry. I hadn't had a moment to myself. I was tired too. So I took Bubs for a drive and let my husband know I was in a bad mood. When we got back, I put Bubs to bed, and he was already in bed trying to sleep for his early flight. I kind of got so mad about this. He heard me stomping around and came out of the bedroom and told me to keep quiet. He had to sleep. Well, I lost it. I called him a few names, grabbed my keys, and stormed out. I eventually came home after about 2 hours and slept on the couch. He thinks I was overreacting, and he didn't do anything wrong because he had to get an early flight and works away all week. I don't think I am. It's only my birthday once a year. We don't bother with Valentine's Day or other commercial holidays. For me, birthdays and anniversaries are important. He got to the airport with almost no sleep and had a terrible week at work from that fatigue. I want to apologize to him, but I also think he needs to apologize to me as well. I don't normally expect him to do much on weekends. I also work full-time 40-plus hours a week, and I'm the sole parent for 5 days straight. 7, really. He spends most weekends resting himself from Monday. Not the idiot. So you both work full-time, but you also do all of the housework and childcare. Yeah, you work far more than him, and he can't even be bothered to spend time with you on your birthday. I think you should put your foot down. Either something changes or you leave him. You're already a single-parent household. It sounds like a really difficult arrangement for everyone involved. Everyone's overworked. No one's getting enough rest. No one's getting enough family time. No one has time for fun or self-care. And everyone is irritable, including the kids, it seems. Why don't they move closer to your husband's job? Why doesn't he work closer to home? What is OP getting out of this relationship? I don't see one. This arrangement makes 0 sense to me. If they're both working full-time, then it stands to reason the husband could surely find something local, even if a pay cut is required. In my head, they live in the suburbs of Western Australia, and he works a FIFO mining job somewhere up in the middle of nowhere. It would probably work out cheaper not to move the whole family there and take her away from her much-needed support system. OP, I don't think this is about your birthday. This is just your tipping point. You guys have a communication problem. There's an imbalance in your relationship with your husband, and he's not seeing it. I would suggest marriage counseling for the two of you, but I don't know if that's really a viable option to have to happen on the weekends. Or use some of that FIFO money to get a cleaner. At least then you'll have time to relax and fix the marriage. I, 25 male, live where it's warm enough out that a pool party was mildly feasible. Cold in the water, but great otherwise. I invited a bunch of friends over to my house. We swam, grilled, and watched the Masters until the delayed by rain. It was a great time, except for something I may have come across as an idiot for. I kinda hate dogs and don't want them anywhere around me. I'm definitely not letting them in my house. My friends know this, and my girlfriend knows this. A buddy's new girl who I'd never met came to the party, but she brought her 15 to 20 pound dog. She introduces herself, and I just pause and go, "Yeah, that thing's not coming inside." She goes, "I'll take it through the side gate." I shoot that down too. She asks what she should do with her dog. I just say, "Take it home." I tell her that I hate dogs and that my buddy should have told you that before you got this far. My buddy chimes in and says it's well behaved and she would hold it for most of the time, and he didn't think that it'd be that big of a deal. I'm appalled and just say, "You should have known better." I say, "Sorry, I'm not letting it in, and it's best to take it home." We stood in awkward silence, and they left and didn't come back. My buddy was texting me, calling me an idiot, and complaining that I wasn't friendly and rude. I'm not letting a dog in my house. I don't care who you are. Am I the idiot for that? Not the idiot. People who bring their pets to other people's houses uninvited are major idiots. One of my friends used to try to do this whenever we invited him over for a movie, and it made me angry. No, dude, I don't want your dog sniffing and possibly eating my cards. So why do some people assume their dogs are welcome everywhere they are? That's not how life works. Because they think their dogs are equal to or better than humans. These friends of OP show up full of assumptions, and of course my dog will be welcome. Isn't he cute? Then respond to OP's no with, "I'll take it through the side gate." In what world is this behavior okay? OP told her the dog wasn't welcome inside, and the next logical step was to ask if it could be with her in the backyard. But no, that's not what happened. OP stood up for himself. He defended his boundaries. The friend and his girlfriend tried to run roughshod over OP. They're the idiots. The overlap I've noticed in people who do this is they're entitled and selfish people who think the rules don't apply to them because they're special. They don't necessarily think their dogs are equal to humans. They see them as extensions of themselves, and since they think rules don't apply to them, they extend that to their dogs. I prefer my dog's company over many humans, but I don't take her to people's houses because it's rude. This sounds like a friend who's fine to lose, but if you run into this situation again with someone you care more about, the key to diffusing is a big welcome and a cheerfully unapologetic, "That won't be possible. Martha, it's great to meet you finally. I'm so glad you're here, but I'm sorry Brad didn't warn you. This is a totally dog-free house. Run him home and come right back." No awkward silence, no being appalled, no calling the dog it. Just a cheerful welcome and a clear statement that you're totally dog-free.